Good day to the viewing and listening public. I am Stacey Carmichael and I'm here at the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated, and I'm with Chief Executive Officer of the company, Mr. Bharat Dindyal, and we'll be discussing future plans for the company and preparedness for the Christmas season. My first question to you, Mr. Dindyal, what are some of the future plans for the Guyana Power and Light Company?
All right, so as you know, we have actually started construction of a new 46.5 megawatts power plant at Garden of Eden. We expect in the second quarter of next year for that plant to achieve commercial operation. We have acquired 6 Caterpillar modules, 10 megawatts. Those are installed and operational. And those are owned by the company, so they'll continue to provide service until we get to the 46 megawatts. After then, we are looking at rationalization of our generating capacity in the Berbice. We're looking at all the units that we're spending quite a bit on to maintain, to see whether we could actually mothball them. Because we are forecasting that in 2022, with continued growth in demand, that we may need additional capacity. And if we don't have the resources to install additional generation, we'll have to revert to those sets that we would have mothballed in 2021. In terms of generation, I think next year would be much better in terms of overall available capacity in the Berbice.
Thank you very much for that response, Mr. Dindyal. And my next question would be GPL's preparedness for the Christmas season. How is the company prepared to manage the additional load?
Well, we have enough capacity in the Berbice. In fact, like I said, we have brought in these 6 modules, but there are 3 reserve modules which are going to be installed at Canefield. Should any problems be encountered with the 6 modules, we could actually deploy any of the 3 reserve modules. We would have over 155 megawatts available in Demerara, and that should suffice to meet our peak demand, which we expect to be below 130 megawatts. On the network side, we have some different challenges. And if you permit me, I want to tell our consumers that I'm really as frustrated as they are with the performance of the network in the recent past. Almost on a daily basis, we have network issues. And we had a special period this year, of course, with COVID, when very little activity actually, very little maintenance was undertaken on the networks. And we recognize for some time now that coming up to this period, we have had a difficult time actually getting ahead and coming to a stage where we are confident that networks will hold up. In fact, we're seeing issues occurring daily, like I said. Today, we had adverse weather for a period of time, and we had about 6 circuits that actually tripped. I know some areas are actually more seriously affected, like the West Demerara, some parts of the East Bank, and some parts of Upper Demerara and Berbice that are mostly affected. We have come to a period when we have suspended planned maintenance work. And so there's no planned maintenance going on. We are now pulling together our resources and trying to inspect these areas in detail to see if we could identify threats and if we could react to mitigate those threats without an outage. We are working on this assiduously. Supplementing that, we have actually gone through a review of our automatic protection systems. As you know, with our distribution network, there are automatic systems that are monitoring these circuits and are actually programmed to intervene if there's any abnormal condition existing. In many instances, some of these things are set to operate in extremely short periods of time. I'm talking about a delay of about a quarter of a second. So if something were to touch a circuit, a primary line, within a quarter of a second, the power will be interrupted. We are trying to change that to allow for some more delay for transient problems to actually be sustained and cleared before the power is taken off. So I'm thinking that what we're doing now, which we'll complete by Sunday, should reduce a lot of the nuisance outages. The protection will obviously come in if there's a permanent fault, and that is the way we want it to operate. So we're working on this to reduce the instances of nuisance outages, and we have additional teams going into areas where we are seeing multiple, trips over a short period of time to see if they could look and find, threats that we could address, whether it's trees in proximity to the line, whether it's poles leaning or whatever, that could effectuate a permanent fault. But I want to mention this also. Whenever these feeders trip, we go through a process. We try to repower the feeder within a short period of time. And you might see your power go off, and then in a couple of minutes, you see it comes off and goes off again. It is something that we are doing to try to see if there's a transient fault. And maybe 80% of our trips are transient faults. The feeder, the protection takes it out. You repower it in a couple of minutes, and it stays. Now, if it comes off back, we know that we have a fault, a permanent fault, and we have to go out and check now. And this checking, it takes a lot of time, quite a bit of time, because if you look at the extent of feeders, like from Edinburgh way past Perico, you could understand there's a huge geographic area that is covered by one feeder. So it takes an enormous amount of time for us to physically check it part by part. They go through another procedure. They actually split the feeder in two parts, and then they power back up the first part. And if it holds, they know the fault is on the second part, and then they try to power it up in sections to see where they could localize where the fault is. There's a role for customers to assist us in this process. If you see something, you call in, particularly in the high voltage lines, and I know that consumers are aware where the high voltage lines are and what they look like. So these are the lines in a delta arrangement at the top of the tall poles. If you see something sparking there, you see something touching the line, anything of that nature, it will be extremely helpful to us, that we know exactly where we're going, and we know we're going to find something and we can try and fix it. Because when these things occur at night, you can imagine how difficult it is to send a crew in the dark of night in some really bad areas to really find a problem that, it's like a needle in a haystack. And it takes hours and hours, and you're frustrated and we're frustrated because your power is now coming on and we can't put it on because it's not staying on. The automatic equipment is taking it off.
Thank you very much. And the new power plant at Guyana, Eden, how would that also assist with improving capacity at the company?
So this is 46.5 megawatts. It's our largest power plant. It has 5 engines, and individually these are the largest engines that we have in the system. So we're adding an additional 46.5 megawatts of reliable new capacity. So we expect a certain quality of service from this plant. There are things that we have to do to ensure that the capacity remains a part of the overall system capacity, and that is the interconnection of this plant to the rest of the grid. We have 2 transmission lines between Garden of Eden and Sophia that we have to ensure are in extremely good shape. Now, when we start the plant up, we don't run into issues with the performance of the transmission lines, because if the transmission line encounters problem, we can't dispatch the power. We can't evacuate the power from the plant. So we're thinking that we have 46.5 megawatts that is going to be added to our baseload. It's a baseload. These are baseload engines. And that we have this reliable capacity, which will now displace all the old suspect capacity that we previously depended on.
Thank you. And Mr. Dindyal, what are some of your plans, your vision for the company as the CEO?
Well, I think our first challenge really is to provide a quality of service that consumers would accept. First of all, we are playing catch up with our provision of service in a number of areas. I'm thinking with the 46.5 megawatts, we'll go a far way to meeting our target for generation capacity. I could say that there's quite a bit of work that has to be done on the network side. And next year, I've already met with our technical people. The whole approach to network inspection, the development of our defect list, how we approach maintenance will have to be radically transformed in 2021. Because we don't want to be in a situation in 2021 December when we're approaching Christmas where we are completely exposed as we are today. So network maintenance would be done next year in a radically different approach. And I want to actually do it in a way that doesn't engender widespread and repeated outages. So the whole approach to how we do it, when we take off the power, what we do when we take off the power, all I think would be addressed in 2021. I'm hoping that this pandemic that we are progressing through now would be something that would be overcome in 2021 with at least 2 vaccines being given approval by the FDA. So if COVID is out of our way and we're not limited by COVID, even if COVID continues to impact us, I think the strategies that we have will ensure that we are much better prepared within the network in 2021. On customer service, we are looking at a range of initiatives that would further improve the quality of customer service that we are providing. There were some initiatives that we had started on a pilot basis in 2010. I want to bring back those initiatives in 2021. And these are initiatives where we kind of outsource some of our customer service functions to take them to communities that are far removed from access to our customer service centers, to really make it more accessible within the community and service provided by somebody we think who the community would accept and respect. So you don't have to interface with GPL. But while we're doing that, we're also enhancing our online transactions and the range of services that you could access online. The way things are structured right now, you're required to present certain documents, and these are legal requirements. And we're looking at that, and those documents are initially prepared in hard copy and submitted in person, which we have to validate. But we're looking at all of that to see how we can best improve service without you having to take the burden of coming to a service center, a customer service center. Something we want to work on that. We want to continue to enhance that. We want to continue to enhance the quality of service we provide by improving on maintenance of this transmission and distribution system and further reinforcing it. And of course, generation, I'm thinking with this 46.5, that we're going a far way to really meet on a sustained basis our peak demand.
Thank you very much to the viewing and listening public. I am Stacey Carmichael, and we just completed an interview with Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Power and Light Company, Mr. Bharat Dindyal. Goodbye for now.